How you doing, YouTube? Matt Massa Beer Reviews, back with a little bit of mystery beers, courtesy of my boy Corey. Yeah, he sent off a bunch of mystery beers, 2 to be exact. I guess it's a bunch, depending on your definition. And sandpaper mystery beers. I have never had a sandpaper mystery beer in my life. Actually, that's a lie. I had one. The other one that he sent off that I reviewed the other day. My favorite wrapping going right now is sandpaper, so I like people kicking it up a notch, getting a little kooky on the wrapping. So, mystery beers, for those that don't know what they are, I don't know who you would be if you don't, but we don't know what we're drinking. We try to guess. So, obviously, we're dealing with a Kolsch or a Pilsner. You know, might be a table beer, might be a Groot. No, a big, huge stout. That's what we're dealing with here. So, you're talking about quarter pinky finger of what I like my coffee to look like color. It had that little bit of cream and a rich, dark kind of coffee-like kind of head to it, and just dark. Not even dark. It's like 5 A's dark. It's like Boston dark. Is how that sucker's coming off. So, yeah. I was in the mood for a dark beer, so this works. It's good nose. So what do we got going on here? Breakfast. Break fast. It is a maple. There's maple in here. There's sweetness in here. There's brown sugar in here. There's lactose in here. There might be coffee in there. I'm reserving that for the taste. Might be just a roasted malt, but there's a big, huge maple component going on in here. So I'm assuming somebody's version of like a breakfast kind of stout because of that maple and how big it is in here. Big, huge, sweet. And just that maple just like dripping and oozing out of every ounce of this beer. I mean, it's almost hard to get anything else out of the beer because that maple is so violent. I mean, that would probably be the best way to describe it, is violent. It's got to be a big beer, right? I can't even tell because of the maple. Guess what? There's maple in this beer. We're just going to dive in. Cheers. I like that a lot because that maple is so big on a nose, and not that it's not small in the taste. It's definitely a leader in the clubhouse, but it's not an overly sweet maple syrup beer. It's sweet. I'm not gonna sit here and like kind of trick you guys or try to convince you guys that this beer isn't sweet. There's so many of these maple syrup stouts that get so sweet. They almost kind of like, it's hard to find something else in the beer. That's not the case here. You get that pop of sweetness from that maple syrup. You get this relatively soft mouthfeel to it. I was guessing based off the look of this beer and the vibrance of the maple syrup, we're dealing with double-digit beer here. I'd be surprised if this is double digits. I'll even double down. I think this is a point or two away from double digits. I think this is like getting down there, kind of getting in the 7% range. There's a bittering kind of roasty component to it that's coming from the malt base of the beer. I want to call this with coffee in it, but I'm not getting a huge coffee component. I think it's being trumped quite a bit from the maple syrup portion of the show, so I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to say it. There's coffee. This is a coffee maple stout. This is a coffee maple porter. It's got to be lactose in it, right? So this is a milk porter. This is a 6.8 now. This is a 7.4. 7.4% milk porter with maple syrup. This is a 7.4% coffee maple porter. Right? That's what we're drinking, right? .4% coffee maple porter. Coffee maple milk porter. 7.4% coffee maple milk porter. That's what we're drinking. Yeah. Treehouse vibes. But yeah, you're talking about the, I love the pull tabs. Coffee, maple, milk porter, 7.4%. I can't go higher than that. It just drinks too easy. Some of that has to probably do with the lactose. It might be a little bit bigger than that, but I'm just going to stick to my guns. Man, shooting beer all over the place. Shadabada. It's a Moment of Clarity, 7.7. Ooh. 3% off. I got these. I love the sandpaper. I'm never going to sit here and complain about the sandpaper, but they leave some nasty-ass grit all over these things, man. Like, you have to wipe these down. You don't have to, but texturally, it's like one of the worst feelings. It's like nails on a chalkboard when I touch this goddamn thing, so I have to wipe it down. Anyway, this Moment of Clarity, I believe I've had this before. I believe I've reviewed this before. Moment of Clarity, Milk Stout, they called it Milk Stout, it's Milk Porter, 7.7, so it's 0.3% off on the ABVs. This is only like 2 weeks old. They don't tell you what's in here. If there's no maple syrup in here, they're fucking lying. If there's no coffee in here, I'm fine with it. I can see that coffee component coming from like a big roasted malt component. But this is really tasty. Honestly, for its ABV level, it's absolutely spot on perfect as far as vibrance, as far as sweetness, as far as expression. So if you tell me there's coffee and lactose, coffee, well, there's obviously lactose, so coffee and maple syrup in this, and it's 7.4%, I feel like done, nailed it. You say, okay, if there's not maple syrup in this, they're fucking lying, not me. But there's no coffee, fine, I'm cool with it. I'm still okay with what I said, because there is a big coffee presence to this beer. Not that it's overtly kind of coffee in your face, but with the maple syrup being as big as it is, and with that lactose in there, it definitely has a coffee component to it. But this is really, really good stuff. I mean, this is the stuff where when I originally look at it and originally start drinking it, I really start pinging at that kind of double digits. Really kind of like, it's like 10%. And every step I take, it's not so much that I'm like, okay, it's not that high ABV. It's got to be smaller. It's not like that. It's just like, it's super vibrant, but there's not a huge alcohol presence. So it's got to be lower in ABV. And it is. This is a really tasty beer. I mean, and here's the thing about it. Like, I got Treehouse Vibes from, listen, you know, Corey sent me a box of Treehouse and Trillium, and then he sent me 2 mystery beers, and one was Trillium. The odds are this one's going to be Treehouse. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't put that into kind of my thought process. But it doesn't taste exactly like what all the other Treehouse stouts taste like. It's very much Treehouse Stout. But they were all very much the same model car with different options. They're starting to get a little bit more varied now, a little bit more kind of different, and I think that's a great thing. I actually think their stout game is getting exponentially, or their dark beer game, even from barley wine and all that kind of stuff, it is getting better and better and better. You know, listen, old OG Double Shot was one of my favorite beers of all time, so it's not like their older ones were great, but I think they're starting to grow and starting to kind of morph into something a little bit different, a little bit more unique from beer to beer to beer, and I think that's a really good thing. Very tasty stuff. I mean, as far as a maple milk stout goes, it has that perfect balance between an aggressive maple without getting over the top, without being overly sweet, and has a relatively, I mean, 7 change isn't low, but relatively low ABV. I like. Is this one of the better breakfast stouts? Because that's what I'm going to call it, because that's what it is that I've had as of late. Yes, Mount Rushmore status. It's probably worthy. It's up there, if not on there. Value and availability on this thing, it's Treehouse. But their stouts and their beers in general aren't super expensive. You just have to go to the brewery to get them and leave you with, if you like what we like this beer. If you like maple syrup, you like lactose stouts, but not like a super crazy over-the-top lactose or not super crazy maple. You like that little bit of balance there, then you'll definitely love this beer. So there you go. Review in the books. Let me know if you've had this. I'm really curious, especially Corey. Obviously, you've had this. But anybody else, let me know what you thought down there. Massive Beers, if you want to check me out doing the social media stuff, Beer Massif. If you want to check me out doing the whole podcasting thing, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying a little bit of Treehouse mystery beers right now. Hope to see you next time. Cheers.